Aries. The turn doesn't come when everything is clear. It comes when you stop circling it. The signal doesn't shout. You can see it in the way a delayed answer changes your posture, your tone, or your pace. With Mars active, the topic of words, exchanges, and your immediate environment calls for action, not noise. One clean move matters more than a release. It's the open document, the answer that's been waiting, the point that only needs one act. The right movement won't solve everything, but it does open the point habit has kept shut. For Aries, strength is in pausing before impulse decides for you. An imperfect but honest step today can matter more than a calm that keeps the problem alive. Delaying today may look tidy, but it leaves more weight on the version of you that avoids. Move. Choose the gesture that cuts the noise and do it without adding 3 explanations. Save this before you postpone the gesture you already know is necessary. Taurus. Today's love signal isn't sweet. It's precise, and maybe a little uncomfortable. It's the point where someone lights you up, but the sky asks you not to hand them the wheel. Don't widen the scene too much. One person, one phrase, one gesture, and a presence that changes the atmosphere becomes readable at last. Venus brings light to home, roots, and emotional foundation. An emotional or value-based choice can't stay vague. The affection signal only matters if a presence that changes the atmosphere doesn't ask you to betray your center. For Taurus, calm becomes a trap when staying still costs more than choosing. A clean bond doesn't need you to cross your own boundary in order to seem soft. The risk is confusing intensity with direction. One thing lights you up, the other leaves you whole. Move. Don't chase reassurance. Choose the gesture you can still stand behind tomorrow. Save this before you call a reaction that only wants reassurance love. Gemini. Today, you don't need to win the day. You need to get back a little breath. You've got 2 doors in front of you. One avoids discomfort now, the other forces that pressure into a choice. With Mars active, the theme of identity, body, and presence calls for action, not noise. One clean move matters more than a release. This is a real pause, not a pause loaded with guilt and explanations. Recovery isn't decorative downtime. It's what keeps the day from being handed over to the tiredest part of you. The right shelter doesn't drain strength. It stops you from wasting it in the wrong place. For Gemini, understanding everything isn't enough if a physical limit not to force is still being ignored. If you keep sacrificing a physical limit not to force, clarity will pay before results do. Move, close one small cycle, and leave the draining request out. Listen back before you push a part of yourself that is asking for measure. Cancer. The day isn't asking for theatrical courage. It's asking for a verifiable act. The signal doesn't shout. You can see it in the way a blockage that needs to move changes your posture, your tone, or your pace. Mars adds pressure to vision, travel, and broader study. Use it to decide, not to force the scene. It's the open document, the answer that's been waiting, the point that only needs one act. The blockage weakens when you stop treating it like prudence and start treating it like a choice. For Cancer, protecting everyone gets expensive when you lose your center at the point that matters. The stake is getting out of the mental loop. If nothing moves, the blockage keeps its respectable mask. The risk is calling a polished blockage calm. It makes no noise, but it still keeps you in the same place. Move. Close one door. Send one reply. Shift one commitment. One thing only, but make it real. Save this. Today's turn may be small, but it isn't harmless. Leo. If silence burns, don't put it out with the first reply. Today you have 2 doors. Hit send and let the tension drop, or slow down and give the response some shape. Sun square Saturn makes the choice heavier. Broader perspective, travel, and study can't run on autopilot today. It's the message left open, The sentence already formed, the finger hovering over send, because silence what's under your skin. One path lowers the tension fast. The other keeps a sentence from running your day. For Leo, the risk is using a reply to prove your worth, instead of protecting your presence and your margin. If the line is written to win, tomorrow your route is narrower. The strong move is a shorter sentence than the one you wanted to send. Do you want clarity, or do you just want the discomfort of silence gone? Reread, cut one line, keep only one decision open. Move, make one concrete choice before you react. Listen back when silence tempts you into the worst possible sentence. Virgo, useful care today isn't soft because it's weak. It's precise because it has to survive pressure. The first route is to avoid naming a physical limit not to force and hope it passes. The second is to look at the point now while it's still manageable. Mars heats up daily work, method, and health. If you react just to discharge, you miss the point. This is a real pause, not a pause loaded with guilt and explanations. Practical care carries little theater and a lot of effect. It lowers the noise before it becomes the boss. The stake is not burning good energy to support a shape that no longer serves. For Virgo, detail only helps if it isn't being used to postpone a physical limit, not to force. If you keep denying space to the tired part, the day may work on the outside and empty you on the inside. Move. Choose concrete care, not a promise to recover later. Tomorrow will count the energy you didn't waste, not the performance you kept up. Libra, today the price isn't only financial. It's how much room you leave for others to decide. It's an unspoken number, a favor that keeps growing, time someone already assumes is available. Don't widen the seam too much. One person, one phrase, one gesture, and a margin someone is using becomes readable at last. Venus is highlighting networks, friendships, and future plans, so attraction, measure, and dignity are all in the same scene. The material issue also speaks about power. A margin someone is using shows who sets the value of your presence. For Libra, useful peace doesn't leave the real cost vague. The stake is not letting discomfort decide the price for you. The risk is buying peace with a resource you'll need whole tomorrow. Move. Ask for the missing detail before the yes turns into a tax. Save this before you let discomfort set the price for you. Scorpio, if an attraction that demands a choice stirs something in you, don't rush to give it an easy name. The signal doesn't shout. You can see it in the way an attraction that demands a choice changes your posture, your tone, or your pace. Moon sextile Chiron. In desire, creativity, and pleasure, a nuance can become a decision. It's a chat, a look, a pause, where you realize whether you want contact or just confirmation. The living part isn't asking for a spectacle. It's asking whether the emotional scene brings presence or just a need for reassurance. For Scorpio, the strength is not mistaking control for truth. A clean bond doesn't need you to cross your own boundary in order to seem soft. The risk is mistaking the thrill for truth and realizing too late you were only asking to be confirmed. Move, drop the seductive line, and leave the real one, even if it's shorter. Save this for the moment when the heart wants to race, but dignity asks for measure. Sagittarius. If your body or your heart is hitting the brakes, maybe they're protecting the center. The first route is to avoid naming a fatigue that asks for respect and hope it passes. The second is to look at the point now, while it's still manageable. Mars puts pressure on home, roots, and emotional foundation. Use it to decide, not to force the scene. It's a quieter room, a notification left outside, a body that stops negotiating. Protecting energy today isn't disappearing. It keeps a fatigue that asks for respect from eating the right choice. The right shelter doesn't drain strength. It stops you from wasting it in the wrong place. For Sagittarius, freedom today comes from giving the right thing a measure. The risk is postponing recovery until your body or heart has to speak louder. Move. Choose concrete care, not a promise to recover later. Save this before you sacrifice your body to a non-essential demand. Capricorn. If a conversation left hanging is tightening the room, maybe it doesn't need patience, it needs movement. The signal doesn't shout. You can see it in the way a conversation left hanging changes your posture, your tone, or your pace. With Mars active, the topic of words, exchanges, and your immediate environment calls for action, not noise. One clean move matters more than a release. This is the moment when you realize the blockage needs less thinking and more gesture. The useful gesture doesn't have to be big. It just has to stop that hanging conversation from running the scene. For Capricorn, holding everything together isn't enough if the necessary move doesn't take the lead. The risk isn't ruining everything. It's staying elegant inside a frozen situation. Delaying today may look tidy, but it leaves more weight on the version of you that avoids. Move. Choose the gesture that cuts the noise and do it without adding 3 explanations. Come back here when you're ready to call stillness prudence.
Aquarius, today the price isn't only financial, it's how much room you leave for others to decide.
You've got 2 doors in front of you. One avoids discomfort now. The other forces that pressure into a choice. With Mars active, the topic of resources, money, and value calls for action, not noise. One clean move matters more than a release. This is the emotional estimate of the day. Who pays, how much, and with what margin? The practical boundary protects dignity here. Don't let a margin someone is using rely on politeness alone. Naming value doesn't make it cold. It makes it shareable at last. For Aquarius, seeing farther doesn't help if a margin someone is using never becomes a concrete choice. The risk is buying peace with a resource you'll need whole tomorrow. Move. Ask for the missing detail before the yes turns into a tax. Save this before you say yes to a number you haven't really looked at. Pisces. The still part of the day wants one thing, a clean cut. You've got 2 doors in front of you. One avoids discomfort now, the other forces that pressure into a choice. Mars puts pressure on identity, body, and presence. Use it to decide, not to force the scene. This is the moment when you realize the blockage needs less thinking and more gesture. Today's turn doesn't need noise. A door that won't open by itself wants a precise gesture, not another analysis. The stake is getting out of the mental loop. If nothing moves, the blockage keeps its respectable mask. For Pisces, feeling everything only becomes power if a door that won't open by itself doesn't stay in the fog. If you don't touch that gesture, the day passes and the problem keeps its throne. Move. Choose the gesture that cuts the noise and do it without adding 3 explanations. Send this to whoever has to make a move today.